Today is Wednesday, January 14, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Minneapolis faith leaders and community activists are calling for a day of truth and freedom, a boycott in response to Donald Trump's Operation Metro Surge. I'll talk to one of the organizers about this very issue. In an effort to maintain a white America, Donald Trump is pausing immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. Most of them black. I'll talk to an expert about this sweeping move and why they're targeting African countries, but they're also targeting Jamaica and the Bahamas. Speaking of this MAGA administration, they have launched a campaign across various departments that utilizes images and ideas borrowed from right-wing, racist, white nationalist circles. That is no shock. And racists are welcome in this administration. I'll tell you two individuals who have admitted to loving Hitler and Nazis, and they're still working. But also, heckling the convict-in-chief not only results in being flipped off by the orange man, it can also lead to a suspension. That's the case for a Ford worker. UAW responds. Plus, the United States Senate honors gospel icon Richard Smallwood. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin!
Fine, come to me. Folks, I have repeatedly said that racists dominate the Donald Trump administration. This is an administration that is about white supremacy. It's an administration about white nationalism. And so you might remember a story where the Texas Observer broke a story showing that a prosecutor, an ICE prosecutor in Dallas, that individual, flat out, that individual admitted to white supremacist language that he was handling a Twitter account. Well, he is back on the job. That's right, that racist is back on the job. The prosecutor is James Rotten. He has white supremacist account on X known as Global Responder. The account routinely posted racist comments on the Twitter page. The members of Congress sent letters to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security demanding a formal investigation. ICE responded in March to Texas Congressman Mark Vesey that its Office of Professional Responsibility takes this seriously and will investigate it. Well, ICE hasn't provided any information or updates since then. He is now back on the job. Now, you also might remember Paul Ingratia's, the individual who Donald Trump was nominating for a position. Well, they pulled the nomination because he was busted in an account where there was this chat group where he admitted to having a Nazi streak. Well, guess what? He still works for this administration. Is it any shock what we're dealing with here? And so let's just be clear. What Donald Trump and his administration is saying, that if you are an undeniable racist, if you make racist comments, if you glorify Nazis, if you glorify Hitler, you have a place in their administration. Rebecca Carruthers, President, CEO, Fair Election Center out of Washington, D.C. Mondo Robinson is principal with Black Bell Voters Project, mayor of Enfield, North Carolina. Andrew Clark, managing partner, District Legal Group out of Washington, D.C. Glad to have all three of you on the panel. It's very clear. It is undeniable what we see here, Mondale, that if you are a racist, what Donald Trump, what MAGA, what Republicans have said is, you good. There will be no repercussions. And this is what we talk about with these folks. They are advancing a white agenda. They are about building white America. And these are individuals who are documented as talking about Nazis and praising Hitler and making racist comments Doesn't matter. You have a job with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think, Roland, first of all, it's good to be back, bro. I think it's actually a plus that you are racist in this administration. Donald Trump is actually thriving and looking for people that believe what he believes. And people can say, well, Donald Trump's not racist. There's no history of it. I think that's BS. And I think right now what we're seeing is Donald Trump's administration is just living out Donald Trump and his father's dreams. We are watching these people imply an America that used to be. When they said make America great again, people that question it saying when was America great? And all of us that said it was only great for people that look like Donald Trump and his fathers and other white people knew exactly what they were saying. And this is exactly what this administration has been dead set on since January of last year. They're not playing games about it. They're not even allowing anybody in the administration or that Republican Party to call them out and keep their space. Anybody that's willing to challenge white supremacy or its role in America or what Donald Trump sees its role in America will be punished by this administration. And I think seeing this prosecutor back at work to prosecute people of color, as he has said, he prefers whiteness, so to say. I think it tells us exactly what we should be afraid of. We're about to be excluded, and all of the black people. This is what I really want to say, Roland. All of the black people that say this ain't got nothing to do with us, you're a damn fool, because you're next. You're next.
Yeah. Rebecca, Anthony, go to my iPad. This is the guy, Paul Ingracia. Trump tapped him for a new role. This is from November 2025, November in Politico. And they withdrew his nomination to lead the Office of Special Counsel. But he had told folks, he's moving to the General Services Administration. Let's be perfectly clear, y'all. This guy literally was busted for saying that he had a Nazi streak. And they're just moving him to the other department. He is still working in the federal government, Rebecca.
Roland, here's the thing. I've been spending the last year and a half talking to Black elders, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, and even a family friend who's 105. And I've been asking them to recount different stages of their life. The last time overt racism was just in our face the way it is now. And they have given a lot of great advice. Advice that I heard a couple of weeks ago was, you know what, it's going to take y'all about 20 years to build back. Y'all be able to do so. The next 10 years are going to be a struggle, but y'all be able to do it. So here's the thing. For every single person who thought electing Barack Obama as president of the United States in 2008 meant that we were at the end of racism, that we were in a post-racial society, this is the final wake-up call. This is the final boss, right, that we're dealing with. At this point, we know how to defeat this. We've defeated these ideologies before. This next time, as we rebuild over the next 20 years, we have to make sure we take it a step further, that we enshrine the things that we need to enshrine in the Constitution, that we don't settle for social change and social justice, but we actually focus on economic justice. Because quite frankly, how we make sure we don't get in this position again as a Black community in this country is to make sure that we have economic leverage the next time.
This guy, Ingracia, was, Mondale was in a chat group, and this is what he said. He made a lot of racist comments, and he said one of them, quote, "I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it." But this is a guy who had a major position in the Department of Homeland Security. He was overseeing political appointees. And this is literally what the White House said when he was being moved. Quote, "Ingracia is a very helpful addition to GSA and will successfully execute President Trump's America First policies." What that is saying is Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, this MAGA White House, they are more than welcome. They are more than welcoming to Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, listen, why are we playing games about this? I mean, like, it is unbelievable to me. And I you know what, I appreciate Rebecca spending time with the elders because it's extremely important. And I appreciate their belief that, we could get through this because we've gotten through this before. I would say that, things are a little different in this moment. I see for the first time, probably in my life and also in my parents' life, a president that's willing to say that democracy means nothing. And even in past days, we've watched, white people as presidents pretend that democracy matter. But this thing is something different. This thing, Donald Trump, is something different. We have someone who is flirting with the idea that there don't need to be any more elections, that he is the all-being power, and his limit to his power is what he can imagine. And I think that in America's sense is a first time, especially when you couple it with this desire to be American first, in which we're coding just for white.
This is an article from Vox. And do we have Andrew? Okay, all right, we have Andrew. This is an article from Vox. The Trump administration can't stop winking at white nationalists. The government is recruiting ICE agents with literal neo-Nazi propaganda. That's what they're doing. And they talk about all the actions that these people are involved in. Give me 1 second, let me close that. This is their communication strategy. They're disseminating white nationalist propaganda from official government accounts. So, folks, we're going to do this here. Right now, we're going to play for you. This is a package that was put together by the folks at PBS that actually details how they're using white nationalist language to appeal to their voters.
From the U.S. Department of Labor, a message. One homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. It's a video that appears to be part of a campaign now ramping up to sell the administration's efforts to the American people. For example, calling on potential ICE recruits to, quote, defend the homeland from outsiders while featuring heroic images of white men, often from a bygone era. Then there's this tweet from Friday, an ICE recruitment ad featuring the turn of phrase, "We'll have our home again," plastered over an image of a man on horseback and a stealth bomber flying in the distance. That's a reference to the song "We'll Have Our Home Again," a white supremacist anthem favored by the Proud Boys.
Oh my God, we'll have our home again. By God, we'll have our home.
Another image tells supporters to, quote, trust the plan, the slogan of the right-wing conspiracy theory known as QAnon, which posits there's a global cabal of pedophiles and deep state actors trafficking children, and that Trump is fighting it. It's also a movement heavily involved in the insurrection on January 6, 2021. Last week, the Trump administration published a new website rewriting that history to blame Democrats for security failures that day and to justify the president's pardoning of more than 1,500 defendants. Weighing in on another era, last week President Trump also sat for a lengthy interview with the New York Times. He was asked about the civil rights movement and told reporters that while the landmark legislation did some good things, he said, quote, it also hurt a lot of people that deserve to go to a college or deserve to get a job were unable to get a job. So it was a reverse discrimination. A day later, Trump supporter and billionaire Elon Musk wrote 100 above this message on X, which read in part, quote, if white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. White solidarity is the only way to survive. That's known as the Great Replacement Theory, popular in white nationalist circles that falsely claims the white population is being intentionally replaced by non-whites. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Liz Lander.
It's NewsHour. Now, check this out. Today on Capitol Hill, that was a congressional hearing, and what's insane about that hearing on Capitol Hill is that Congressman Jared Moskowitz, he had the microphone, and he was calling out Republicans because they literally had in the audience an avowed racist, somebody who was successfully prosecuted for sedition, sitting on their side of the aisle. Okay, I want you to take that in. The Republicans literally had on their side of the aisle an individual who named Stewart Rhodes, who is an avowed racist. Okay, I want y'all to listen to this.
That's totally fair. By the way, the head of the Oath Keepers is here with us in the audience. Stewart Rhodes is here today. Not every day, of course. Not every day, of course, you get to meet someone who was convicted of seditious conspiracy against the United States. Hasn't happened 30 years, of course, sitting in the front row in the reserved section, which is controlled by my colleagues across the aisle. Not sure why he's here. I don't know if he's here to tell us about the Oath Keepers' secret handshake or what treehouse they meet in or whether girls were allowed in. I've always wondered that about the Oath Keepers. But yeah, he's here. I mean, I don't know. You have any questions, my colleagues across the aisle, for the head of the Oath Keepers that's sitting in the reserved section of this hearing? I mean, he wasn't pardoned. He's still convicted of seditious conspiracy. Something you guys say didn't happen, right? If there wasn't an insurrection, I don't know how you get convicted of seditious conspiracy.
Convicted of seditious conspiracy, and he is sitting on the side reserved. You can't sit on that side unless a Republican member of Congress gives you the authority to do so. So this ain't just MAGA. These Republicans in Congress are embracing these racists, these white supremacists, these neo-Nazis.
Roland, is that for me?
Yeah, it's for you, Rebecca.
So let's keep it all the way real. If we're going to expose this, let's expose it. In all of our lifetimes on this panel, we've had grand wizards of the KKK actually hold elected office. Hasn't just been on the Republican side, it's also been on the Democrat side. So this is what I'm positing to the audience tonight. They never went away. They never went away. They have always been here since the foundation of this country, and they have been founding members of this country. They have existed. So we're here again, but unfortunately, many of those, especially those of us who have been in the post-civil rights generation, had assumed that just because they let us into their universities, just because they let us into their corporate offices, that the issue is sweet. It's not. So we have to band together and figure out what our path forward is. We as a community have to figure out what our strategy is, because we do have to fight back. We do have to protect our communities, but also understand that these are competing white ideologies. Like earlier, I think last year I spent time talking about what 3%ers are and what their beliefs are. So there's competing white supremacist ideologies are fighting right now to figure out who's going to hold control and the reins of government. Now, is that Black folks' fight? No, but we're still impacted based upon what happens in that fight. So as a community, we have to band together and figure out our path forward through definitely the next 20 years.
See, this is what all of these people, Mondale, this ain't our fight. This ain't got nothing to do with us. Oh yeah, we survived Trump last time. I think we'll be able to survive him this time. All this, and we tried to tell these fools. And there was a whole bunch of loud Negroes on YouTube and on these podcasts and on social media running their mouths saying Kamala Harris, she ain't worth this, she ain't black enough, this, that, and the other. These people are literally executing a Jim Crow 2.0 strategy. When that Louisiana versus Cali decision comes down, and when that leads to wiping out black representation in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, and beyond, on the congressional level, on the state level, on the county level, on the city level, on the school board level, they are wiping out grants. They're wiping out billions that were supposed to be spent for black maternal health, for mental illness, studying cancer. But yeah, Kamala, she wasn't black enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess their definition of black and what they was looking for was some Uncle Tom type shit. To be honest, let me be clear, Roland. I think it's important that we name what's going on here. Donald Trump and Republicans sitting rows up there in reserved seats. Reserved seats is an exclusion of behavior that is anti-democratic. Americans can't on one hand say we are exceptional because of our democracy and how long it's standing, and also reward people who are convicted of seditious acts, and also reward them by sitting them in the front row of the Senate while we're talking about democracy itself. This is hypocrisy at the level that is more than just damning to what's going to happen in this country or how we look outside this country, it has ramifications worldwide. We cannot say anything to Vladimir Putin when Donald Trump is behaving just like that in this hemisphere. We have no ground to stand on when black people will be threatened, are being threatened by policies by this presidency, both black people in this country and abroad. When you see, and as you said, when the opening of the show, when you see this government trying to tell people we will remain white, whether you like it or not, because we know the policies, we enacted them before, leading up all the way up into this country's history through the 90s, when we didn't let black people come in. Now we're going to go back to those policies. So you're right, when people said Kamala wasn't black enough, while some of those same people that said it had white women as their girlfriends and also had babies by those women, were damning. And also we're left to ask, who are paying these people to show up in this way? Why are black men or black people in general saying that this person was not black enough when America itself said one drop is enough to be black?
Folks, Trump's there 3 more years. And I'm telling everybody who's watching and listening, this is not a drill. This is real. And it is going to continue. And that's why I've been saying we have got to see massive black turnout. I can't speak for other people. We got to have massive black turnout everywhere. I'm talking about minimum 70% turnout of our eligible voters. Minimum. It needs to be 80, 85, 90%, because these folks are executing a whites-only strategy. It is clear. They're telling us, and they're doing it in our face. A little bit later, we're going to talk about what's happening with the cutting off with these African nations. I'm telling y'all, this stuff is happening. They don't want, not only do they not want people from African countries, they don't want African Americans. This is real. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. America is being reshaped in real time by a group of 6 people, unelected and without any checks and balances. By the end of the current Supreme Court session, education, the workplace, who gets to elect our leaders, and so much more could radically change. This week, we reconvene our and look at what the new America may look like and how we should respond. That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
The tension continues in Minneapolis between ICE and residents. They're escalating since the murder of Renee Good. People are being assaulted, detained, taken from their homes, snatched off the streets. In response to this situation, faith leaders, union representatives, and community members are organizing a Day of Truth and Freedom. On Friday, January 23rd, all Minnesotans are encouraged not to go to work, school, or shop in protest of Trump's Operation Metro Surge. Minister Janae Bates-Imari, the co-executive director of Faith in Minnesota, joins me right now. I'm glad to have you here. So, Janae, how did this come about? How did this all pull together to settle on that particular day?
Yeah, we have, unfortunately, here in Minnesota, we're no stranger to the federal government trying to unleash their full terror on us here. And so what we experienced, not just with the murder of Renee Good, but what we have continued to experience with this surge of ICE agents here in Minnesota has been continued violence, continued harm. And Minnesotans are at the point of recognizing and being really clear that this is not normal. What has happened here in Minnesota, we know it started, there were other cities, other blue cities across the country that have been used as testing grounds to do this kind of harm and damage. And yet here in Minnesota, we are already at the level of where we are experiencing the most violent and aggressive ICE operation in the country's history. And we are expecting yet 1,000 more ICE officers to be here. They're already renting out hotels through May. So we know that this is for a long haul. And after the murder of Renee Good, on the very same day, we had ICE agents release chemical irritants at a high school as students were being released from school. We have had an employee who was a citizen at a Target two teenagers who are Target employees be taken out of their place of employment, beat up, taken to another location, dropped off. We are having them ram people's cars and drive away, break people's windows open when they are being legal observers, exercising their legal right to record what is happening, not obstructing their ability to do what they're doing, which is continuing to wreak havoc, but just recording them puts you in the line of danger to your body, to your property. And most certainly we witnessed this in the worst possible way, where we all probably saw no less than 3 videos of a murder of a woman here in Minneapolis. And so we knew it was time. If anybody ever sat around and wondered, when's the time for us to do something different, to do something powerful, and to do something at scale? And we're very clear, now is the time. So unions across the state, faith communities across the state, we decided that this was the time to do something, to take further action that's not just a march. It's actually hitting them economically, because we know that corporations, especially here in Minnesota, have a lot of power, and they're choosing not to exercise it. They're choosing to stay silent. And frankly, many of them are actually quite entangled with federal agents here, corporations like Target.
So when you say target the corporations, so the goal is to say, okay, corporate America, you've been silent, you're sitting on the sidelines, you're saying nothing, so we are going to withhold money. We're going to extract resources. We're going to, as Dr. King said on April 3rd, 1968, we're going to redistribute the pain. And so by doing this, you want them then to do what?
They need to do three things, actually. They need to be corporate leaders and business leaders in saying that ICE needs to leave Minnesota, period. They need to stand up and do all that they can to ensure that the agent who killed Renee Good is charged, is arrested, is prosecuted, and that happens in a way that is transparent, because right now we know that the FBI is withholding all of the investigative materials that they have obtained from Minnesota law enforcement to be able to investigate this with transparency. And we're calling on them to become a Fourth Amendment business, to exercise their right to the Fourth Amendment, which means that ICE officers and federal agents are not allowed on their property, that they can't continue to stage in their parking lots, that they cannot continue to come in and take and snatch and kidnap their employees in broad daylight without having a judicial warrant. And the majority of ICE operations operate on an administrative warrant, not a judicial one. And then we are also calling on these businesses, especially on Target, to be a corporate leader in saying that it is time that we stop funding this unaccountable mass militia that is wreaking havoc on their state and on their country. And so those are the calls that we are asking for them. It is about arresting and investigating and prosecuting the officer that killed Renee Good. It's getting ICE out of Minnesota. It's them becoming a Fourth Amendment business, leaning into their right to deny ICE entry. And it is calling on Congress to not fund this unaccountable militia, which they have a real opportunity to do, especially knowing that on January 31st, Congress has to make a decision on if they want to continue to fund the Department of Homeland Security, aka ICE, and they could make the decision not to. And most certainly we know that the people have been pushing for that. It's also time corporations stand up and say the same thing. And, this is not even a wild or radical thing. We know that, for example, San Francisco was likely targeted to also have these huge surges of ICE operations. And the businesses there, the corporations there, Silicon Valley there said, heck no. They called Trump and said, don't come here. And they didn't. And so the businesses here need to do the same thing. So we are calling on Target, we're calling on 3M, we're calling on General Mills, we're calling on the many, many, many corporations that call Minnesota home to get ICE out.
Questions from my panel. Andrew, you first.
Kind of actions or I guess demonstrations have been occurring that or progress has been made in terms of getting these corporations involved?
Well, unfortunately, we've gotten very skilled at holding actions and vigils and grieving and marches. And so all of that has been happening. But I will also say, because of, frankly, the practice that we got during the uprising after the murder of George Floyd here, we have built this level of resilience and, frankly, sophistication within the neighborhood by neighborhood work, the organizing work, the mobilization that's been happening. And it has given, frankly, just quite a bit of light in all of this. So this day for our organization, we've been pushing for the day of prayer and fasting for truth and freedom. Statewide, it is the day of truth and freedom. This came from community. It came from community members and groups, organizations like mine, faith-based folks, and unions. But it also has been, frankly, just a call, again, because of the block by block work that's been happening here. I mean, it has been remarkable to see the ways in which community has stepped up, the fact that we've had tens of thousands of people who have been trained to be legal observers. At any given moment, any given day, folks are walking the block, doing ICE watch, prepared with their whistles to let community know what's going on, showing up together. And frankly, unfortunately, it's absolutely needed because every single day there is another crazy occurrence taking place. I mean, it is so bad the way that ICE has been operating here. It is literally like the largest organized crime syndicate in this state. We're talking about thousands of people who just like literally run around beating folks up, snatching people off the streets. And that is both citizens and undocumented people alike.
Rebecca.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I'm a Midwest girl. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. But what was very pivotal to my upbringing was I was raised in the Black church. That's how I learned
Yeah.
about civil rights. That's how I learned about coalition building. That's how I learned
Yep.
about the history of movements in this country and what collective action can be. I know not everyone goes to church, but you lead a faith organization. What are the
Yes.
plans to make sure that there is a definitive education on what's
Mhm.
happening and connecting it to previous historical civil rights movements in this country? How, is that learning or those teachings happening, especially for young people who, quite frankly, aren't going to get this in the classroom?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. I mean, so what's really beautiful here is that we do have a pretty robust organizing ecosystem here in Minnesota. And I actually am really blessed to be able to be the co-founder of a crew of folks called the Black Church Power Project. It is Black churches here across the state of Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis, out in St. Cloud and rural areas. And we are congregations and clergy who are dedicated to building independent Black political power in this state. In a state where we are over 90% white, it is very, very important. And we have been doing the groundwork of doing exactly what you're naming, having teach-ins. I mean, even doing things as basic as know your rights trainings. The reality is that a lot of what is happening here in Minnesota, and the particular flavor of vitriol that has taken place here is largely because of an attack on Somalis and Muslims here. And there is a way in which that tends to get leveraged, all kinds of ways in which communities get pitted against one another. And so it's been really beautiful to do the deeper work of actually talking about what does it look like, since we have such a deep and robust history of resistance, of protest, of especially the Black church during the civil rights movement and abolition. What does it look like to lean into a lot of the things that our ancestors, the road that they paved for us? And so we absolutely talk about and actually like study quite a bit of the movement work that happened back then and ways in which we can implement it today, and how are we marrying that into the particulars of where we are, and what it means. But the beauty of it, for all of us, is that we are now at this crossroad where, for those of us who have read history, and we always wonder, well, what would I have done during the abolitionist movement? What would I have done during the civil rights movement? Well, you're doing it right now. And my hope is that if you can answer truthfully and say, I ain't doing nothing, that you will get connected to organizations that are moving, because, oh my God, there is so much to be done. And for such a time as this, we all have our own calls, but we also have a collective call towards justice. And I have true hope through things like what is happening here in Minnesota, but also all of the ways that folks nationally are tapping in, and moving, that whew, we shall overcome is a real thing that we get to embody.
Mondale.
Yeah, listen, Janae, I feel your struggle. I'm sorry you all are dealing with what could be the 20th largest or one of the 20 largest militaries in any nation. That's how big ICE budget is right now. I do have, as history as my love language. I understand that Black people have always created moments of pause when a nation refused to listen, and I know that
That's
can
right.
be from slave revolts to Reconstruction, from Montgomery boycott to modern day economic shutdowns. And I see that this day is falling in that lineage. And I want people to understand that it's not a disruption for its own sake, but it's a more interruption that does not need outside people coming in trying to frame themselves or glorify themselves in this moment. So for people that are not in Minnesota, how do we support you all, or what are you all asking from folk that want to help, that don't want to get in the way?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that. Nationally, we are calling on all of our national partners and folks in other states to actually tap in the ways that which would be really helpful is pushing for big corporations, especially places like Target, to call for ICE out of Minnesota, and also ICE out of your own state, ICE out of your own communities, to push for every single business that you are a patron of, a customer of, that you give money to. Ask them to be a Fourth Amendment business. That means putting signs in their window saying that federal agents are not welcome there without a without a judicial warrant. Pushing and calling all your Congress folks to not fund Department of Homeland Security with billions more dollars to continue to fund this militia, and most certainly calling for the arrest, investigation, charging of, and prosecution of the agent who killed Renee Good. Every single person can do that. And what we have about 70 Target stores just here in the state of Minnesota. Already nearly 40 of them have had delegations of folks, individuals showing up saying, hey, it's time to get ICE out of Minnesota. You need to be a corporate leader in making that happen. All of the states across this country, you have a Target, show up in that Target, talk to the manager, let them know. And we know that corporate is feeling the squeeze, that people across the country are like, it's time. It is time.
All right, then. Well, Janae, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And we'll be watching what takes place on January 23rd there in Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch. Before I go to break, I just saw this here, and I thought it was rather interesting. Andrea, I want to start with you. There's a firm, David Shore's firm, that they've been looking at what's been happening, and when you study what's going on, in Minneapolis, and when you start studying the data, you start studying how people are responding to the data and responding to this. We see, and why are the Trump folks fighting so hard?
Yes, I can.
Why they're fighting so hard on this whole issue as it relates to the shooting of Renee Good, is that they understand how people are being turned away. And we can't underestimate the power of polling data. And so let me pull this up for you guys. So 1 second. Okay, I'm trying. There we do right here. And so this is very interesting. Because it was a tweet that I initially saw. The tweet that said David Shore's firm is circulating a memo among Dems that finds footage of ICE shooting significantly drives up Trump's disapproval. And this is what they said. In testing of 15 viral videos about the Minneapolis shooting, raw eyewitness footage and straightforward reporting consistently drove meaningful increases in Trump disapproval, read the memo, which I've obtained, though it says some ideologically charged messages were less effective. And this is from Greg Sargent. The testing also found that the killing has broken through with voters. The memo says with 86% saying they have heard at least a little about it and 76% saying they've seen footage. And importantly, the testing also finds that Democratic proposals to rein in ICE have broad support. Voters favor requiring warrants for arrest by 29 points and back a prohibition against masking during arrest by 16 points, though abolish ICE remains a few points underwater. This is the thing that I have said, Mondale, since last year. I've had numerous people ask me everywhere I go, what is it going to take? And I have been very clear. It's going to take white people feeling pain. And the reality is, this is a white woman who was shot in the face. If it was a black woman, if it was a black man, if it was a Latina, if it was a Latino, if it was Asian American, if it was Native American, no, it was a white woman. And when you look at this, when you look at Trump Doge and these cuts and tears and these crying ass white farmers, and I've been telling everybody, I said, y'all, White people are going to have to feel the pain. I was talking to a friend I went to high school with, and she said, "Yeah, but Roland, the problem is, if that's the case, we're gonna feel the pain too." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." I said, "But you're not going to see change until white people in this country all of a sudden go, oh shit, that's one of us. They killed one of us."
Roland, they killed. We saw the world get shaken up when that nice white woman Viola Louisa went down from the Midwest to the South during the civil rights, and when she got killed, and her husband and her kids were crying on TV, it shook the nerves of white people in the Midwest. What they call the normal white American, the normal American. You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, America has a high tolerance for the suffering and the pain of black people, so it's not enough. America can sit and watch dogs be put on kids as they walk, try to register to vote, etc. They're okay with that. The minute you offend someone or something that is white, especially a white woman in this country, then by God, there needs to be laws. There needs to be changes made. So I unfortunately, and I'm not being coy because this is America. There's history. Every documented era, it becomes a problem when white people are affected by it. And I think this too is a telling moment for all those people who sit idle and say that this is not black people's war. You've brought us to this point. You brought us to the point that it has to be somebody white that has to be murdered for us to get change, because it does not matter as long as you have the Stephen A. Smiths and the others of the world playing trivia with what's going on with our politic. And our politic is saying to black, go to hell, to white, you will save you with law and also justice. We will get something out of this. There will be an investigation into the murder of this white woman, I promise you. As soon as her family members are found and they're put on TV and the world is starting to wake up to videos of other stations, Roland, when she's on stations, when her family's on stations in Europe across this world, and the crying becomes other white nations screaming at white Americans about this, then they'll see something happen.
This was a segment on Fox News, Rebecca, where Will Kane, I want people to listen to what he says, listen to the language, because what he is trying to do is he is trying to create the wedge between white conservative women and these crazy, deranged, white liberal women.
Happening this hour, Minnesota leaders will hold a press conference on the future of DHS agents in the state. We're going to bring that to you live when it begins. According to Homeland Security, that future looks like more agents. The department is surging hundreds of additional agents into Minneapolis to support the ongoing ICE operations there in the wake of last week's shooting. Now, this comes, in this press conference today, as we're getting new witness video of Renee Good before the shooting. She can be seen in her vehicle blocking agents for several minutes, even dancing to the tune of her own car horn. You know, all the behavior of a legal observer. There's a weird kind of smugness, by the way, in the way that some of these liberal white women interact with authority. Most guys learn early in life that every confrontation has a sort of escalation chain. A joke, a push, an argument can eventually turn to violence. We spend a lifetime reading the signs, knowing when we're getting close, knowing when to pull back, knowing when we're on the edge of violence. These protesters, they seem completely oblivious, or they think they have a hall pass to the possibility that blocking cops or using their cars as barricades could end violently. Tragically, but violently. Meantime, another observer today was Governor Tim Walz. He went to observe this.
Again, so you see what they're trying to do there, because what they cannot handle, Rebecca, they can't handle how this is negatively impacting them.
Roland, I'm going to respect your platform. I'm going to choose my words carefully as I say this next phrase. This is the modern way of calling white people who are standing up against white supremacy as in-lovers. That's what happened there. That's what happened on that broadcast. In the past, in previous decades, they would just say, oh, you're an in-lover. So you're going to get it just like those Black folks are going to get it because your whiteness, your actual literal whiteness and approximation to white power in this country ain't going to save you because we now have tarred you as an in-lover. So what they're trying to do is get white people in this country of goodwill who do not like what they're seeing, do not like what they're experiencing in this government. They are literally trying to tell them, we will take you out if you stand in our way. If you use your whiteness as a way to weaponize and fight back against white supremacy. Well, I've seen video, just like I'm sure many in the audience have seen video over the last couple of days of ICE agents referencing what happened to her and even being gleeful on camera about what happened to her and telling other white people that could happen to you too. Do you want to be like her? So let's be very clear with what's happening rhetorically.
And Andrew, that's why now, and of course they use CBS News to report this, that, oh, the officer that was struck suffered from internal bleeding. I don't think anybody believes any of that. Again, they see how public opinion is going against them. They're trying to revert it back as quickly as they can.
Right, and this is them shifting. It's no longer about the officer being injured because the other video shows that, the second video that came out. Now they have to shift to, okay, well, let's divide and conquer. And the easiest way to divide and conquer is to say, well, look, these are liberal white women. You don't want to stand with them. Why would you stand with them? Look, they're blocking traffic. They're doing things incorrectly, right? Not focusing on the fact that Renee Good, an American citizen, was murdered. And really, it shouldn't matter that she was an American citizen. Back in June of 2025, Roland, we were on this show watching as it was unfolding in California, the ICE insurrection, I would call it, right? Then we came back to DC when ICE came to DC. Then they went to Chicago. And it took a white woman being murdered on camera for now there being an uprising. And I'm glad because we did say this. I feel like we should go back to the tapes. We did say it was going to take a white American woman being killed for people to really start paying attention to the fact that ICE has been maneuvering like this for almost a year.
Yep, that's what's going on. All right, y'all got to go to a quick break. We come back. I keep trying to tell y'all these folk don't want black folks in this country, and they're freezing immigrant visas from 75 countries. Wait until I read you the list. It's a whole lot of black countries. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Goals get 20,000 fans contributing at least $50 each a year. That'll raise $1 million. It comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You fund this show. You fund our new daily news show starting in January. You fund our health show. Fund our other 3 weekly shows. It's a lot. Black Star Network. It's a whole lot that we're doing, y'all, with a small amount of money. We ain't got millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks, but we are doing the work where we center African Americans. If you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. Just hit right here on the screen. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about the ups and the downs of the holidays, the ebb and flow of life, those things that keep us running and gunning. But you know there comes a time in each of our lives where we need to just sit down, sit back, and relax, giving you a chance to really find out who you are and how you're going to move your life forward.
How do I learn? How do I grow from this? And that's where, resilience comes.
So I'm literally walking this out in real time. It's just giving myself all the grace, all the space, all the permission that I need.
We're talking about all of these things this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
everybody. I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Well, Trump's State Department is freezing immigrant visa processing for 75 countries to clamp down on applicants it deems likely to get on public assistance. Really? The directive instructs embassies and consulates to halt decisions beginning January 21st while the department reassesses its vetting procedures under existing immigration law. Now, let me walk y'all through these countries. There we go right here. Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Antigua and Barbuda, Armenia, Azerbaijan, the Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, black, Belarus, Belize, Bhutan, Bosnia, Brazil, a lot of black, Burma, Cambodia, Cameroon, black, Cape Verde, black, Colombia, Cote d'Ivoire, black. Keep going. Let's see. Cuba, Democratic Republic of the Congo, black. Dominica, Egypt, yeah, they black too. Eritrea, black. Ethiopia, black. Fiji, Gambia, black. Georgia, Ghana, real black. Guatemala, Guinea, black. Haiti, black. Iran, Iraq, Jamaica, very black. Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Lebanon, Liberia, black, Libya, black, Macedonia, Moldova, Mongolia, Montenegro, Morocco, Nepal, Nicaragua, Nigeria, black, Pakistan, Republic of the Congo, black, Russia, Rwanda, black, St. Kitts and Nevis, black, St. Lucia, yep, black, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, black, Senegal, black, Sierra Leone, black, Somalia, black, South Sudan, black, Syria, Tanzania, black, Thailand, Togo, black, Tunisia, Uganda, black, Uruguay, Uzbekistan, Yemen. Yeah, that's all. So it's like, yeah, we ain't trapped. Now y'all know that ain't no Denmark, ain't no Sweden, because Trump has made clear that, I really want them white folks in the country. Nana June, the executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, joins us right now. I'm glad to have you on the show. Now, we've been making this whole thing clear, and we said it. Donald Trump, MAGA, and Republicans, they want white people. My book is called White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. They want a white country. They are scared to death of black people and Latinos and Asian Americans and Native Americans being the majority in this country. So they're like, yo, let's shut this thing down. So let's see, white people ain't having babies. So let's see if we can try to keep all of them out and try to import as many white people as possible to keep us in power.
Including the white Afrikaners.
Yeah.
Let's import them
so,
too,
yeah,
right?
so they don't mind. They like South
angle.
African. The black ones, y'all stay. We want the white ones.
Absolutely. And that's significant, right? And, thank you, first of all, for having me on. Thank you for talking about this topic. It's really important. What we see here is on top of about 3 levels of travel ban that have already occurred. The first travel ban was blackadier than that, probably about 85 to 90% of the countries coming from the continent of Africa and the Caribbean. Then, as you know, they added this, they had the partially restricted that also was majority black, including some of those countries you see right there. Then they added the $15,000 bond. So imagine if you wanted to go to France and you decided, hey, I want to go to France, and France says no problem, but you've got to put up $15,000 just as a bond to come into the country, which of course acts as its own ban. And then we see what's happening here on the falsity, of course, that somehow people from these countries are the people that end up on public assistance. We know what's happening here. These are all a form of black ban. They may have some other folks, other sprinkles on top, but at the end, that's really what this is about. Not surprising if we think about the initial immigration policies, the initial bans back in the 1700s. People think that the first people excluded were Chinese, but the first people excluded actually were Haitians, because Haitians were free, right? They freed themselves and said, we want to go around the world, including the United States. And the United States quickly banned Haiti, banned Haitians from coming into the country. And what we're seeing here, as with a lot of other things this regime is doing, they are looking into the past and sometimes into the hundreds of years past to see how they can use those same racist, authoritarian, violent policies right now in the present to achieve those same goals that they've always wanted to achieve. The impossible goal they'll never achieve of turning the United States into a white country.
You know, and this is what I've said. So, you know, it's a lot. You got these folks call themselves Foundational Black Americans, FBA, B1, all these different ADOS, all these different titles they use. And they have been, a lot of them in vehemently anti-Black immigrant. And I keep trying to remind them, first of all, if you look at the numbers, first of all, 10% of the African-American population in the United States are Black immigrants. So understand, you start going along with this policy, you're talking about, losing 3 to 4 million people going out of this country, and that's going to impact voting numbers. That's going to impact a whole lot in a lot of our cities. Folk ain't understanding that. So it's like, if y'all want to play the game of trying to be vehemently anti-immigrant like the white folks, all you're doing is hurting yourself.
Absolutely.
And trust me, they're going to be real mad. I just said that. So they're going to come with all the videos, but they can all kiss my ass. Go ahead.
But certainly when you think about also the children, people like myself who are born of Black folks born outside, now all of a sudden you get to 1 in every 5 Black people being either a foreign-born Black person or child of a foreign-born Black person. That does not include my son. Shout out to him. He turned 30 yesterday. And so now you have a 3rd generation of folks, right?
No, hold on. I want to stay right there because that's critically important. So what you're saying, and again, this is the thing that these people, this is when you're stuck on stupid and you don't pay attention. So I'm just going to use, so you take Eric Holder, who was the Attorney General, Barbados. You take Colin Powell. You take Shirley Chisholm. I can go Stokely Carmichael. I can go Harry Belafonte. I can name a whole host of folk today that when you start, Wes Moore, governor of Maryland. So, and they love yelling tethers. So the number you just gave, so what you're saying is that 20% of African Americans are children of Black immigrants. You said 1 in 5.
What I'm saying is 20%, 1 in 5 are either foreign born, so they're either Shirley Chisholm and Kwame Ture, right, born outside this country, or they're children of people born outside this country, such as myself, such as Wes Moore, some of the other names you named.
That's 20% of the 40 million.
20%. Who gets rid of 20% of their population?
So that's 8 million.
Right.
So for all these people who keep yelling tethers and everything, they have no clue how many people who are Black you about to wipe out in New York City. Houston has the largest Nigerian population in the country. So we start going around, it's like, okay, so what you just laid out is that's 20% of the 40 million Black people. So the FBA, ADOS, those folks, what they're saying is, yeah, let's send away 8 million African Americans. Gotcha. Go ahead.
And the thing to think about is that when you look at white people, what did white people do, Roland, historically? They increased the definition of whiteness, right? Everybody wasn't white. They had a bad name for everybody, okay? They had a bad name for the French people, the German people, the Greek people,
the Irish,
Italians,
the Polish,
people,
all
the
of
Irish
them.
people. They said these people are not white. And then they looked to their left, and they saw the Native American. They looked to their right. They saw the Black folks. They saw the incoming brown folks, Asian folks. They said, oh, no,
and
come on, welcome to the club. And
they went, come
those
here.
people in.
Come here. Come on. Y'all us. Y'all one of us.
And at a time in which they are attacking us at every level, bringing in body snatchers with every type of identity, from the FBI to the ATF to ICE to the CBP to the Postal Police, and that's who's out here in LA, in Memphis, in Chicago, in Minneapolis right now, in Charlotte. Like, it's not just immigration enforcement. That doesn't exist. We call it the invasion of the body snatchers at Baji. This is all of them. At a time when we should be standing up together to prevent our people from being snatched, right? Instead, by increasing our numbers and saying, hey, we're here together, instead we have people that are supporting that effort, who are trying to divide people and trying to separate people, which is not going to be helpful, particularly with the ban. What people, I think about some of these countries, look at a country like Ghana, which is a country that so many people, African Americans included, are moving to, marrying people, all kinds of stuff. And now I'm getting all these calls from people saying, wait a minute, my friend was coming to visit. I have someone who I was helping that got into university. They can't come. I can't get my fiance over here. Correct, because there's a travel problem. Travel bans that are happening, or there's $15,000 that you've got to pay, or in this case, they put everyone's applications on hold while they do a so-called review. And all the review is, Roland, is they just want to see, will you give me your minerals? That's it. The review is to see, will we turn over everything in our countries to the billionaires? The review is to see, will we allow ourselves to be a dumping ground for people that this country is illegally, unlawfully, in violation of human rights, deporting? That is what they're trying to do. And you see some countries bent the knee and are still finding themselves on these lists because these types of bullies, these types of gangsters, they never stop pressing you to, put yourself under their foot. Never. And they will not stop until the sovereignty of each and every one of these nations is gone under a Trumpian flag.
Absolutely. They will. That's how they will operate. Good eye panel with questions. Mondale, you first.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting people know that back in 1790, I think when we had our first restriction of Black people, like you had to be not just free citizen, you had to be a white free person to become a citizen of America. I think people believe that, America is majority white because white people are what America was designed and made by, but they forget that it was immigration policies that created this white flesh on majority of Americans. Can you talk about how America has only had truly about 50 years of free, 14 years before 1790 and 36 years since 1990, where Black people were allowed to immigrate, and talk about what that looks like and how people shouldn't be surprised that we are back there again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we look at what those two time periods that you're talking about, where you had immigration policies that were not just absolute, right? That weren't saying you absolutely can't come in, then you did see Black people come in. It's important to point out that it wasn't just free flowing, right? That it was very specific. It was particular folks that they wanted to have come in. Labor is always one of them, right? And one of the things that I talk about is that it cannot be that the only way that Black people can come to this country is in the hull of slave ships or the hull of planes coming in to do work for this country, right? That is not the way that it should be. But that is the biggest way that labor has been allowed. After the 1964 Civil Rights Act, when we had the Immigration and Naturalization Act come out, and the expansion of who could come in, which was directly related to civil rights and the work of Harry Belafonte and others, the numbers of people obviously increased, especially coming from the Caribbean. But we see that often who is allowed in, still in terms of Black people, there's so much more difficulty, even to get tourist visas to come into this country, let alone to get visas to come here and live, reunite with family, etc. What we see happening now is just a resurgence, again, of those more absolute laws that were keeping Black people out. And I want to point out, because I think it's important in our framing, to also say that the incarceration of Black people, whether it be by the criminal punishment system or the immigration enforcement system, is another way to make this country look whiter than it is, which is always the goal, the perception of the whiteness of this country, even as the actual numbers of white people and their percentages decrease.
And see, the thing, actually, so I'm actually asking the question in a second. Rebecca, go.
Sure. So I'm going to ask a question about unity. So my family has been in this country for hundreds of years, and we've been fighting against these same white supremacists and all their descendants. My ancestors have been fighting their ancestors. People like Stokely Carmichael, people like Shirley Chisholm, they were here before 1965 and had a historical understanding of what the fight was in this country. One thing that I have observed, especially not just on social media, but actually in person, as I've helped organize, done political organizing in this country, and I've worked with all sorts of populations, including Black immigrant populations, is that unfortunately there has been this myth or this aspiration of model minority that has separated from some of the newer Black immigrants to historical Black folks who have been in this country. So I just want to point out that the conversation is extremely nuanced. It's more than just, there's some folks on YouTube who are just saying, what they're saying. So my question is, how do we make sure that people are on code, meaning that they understand historically what anti-Blackness is in this country, and they understand that cozying up to white institutions of power, AKA cozying up to white people, isn't enough to save them, and that ultimately we're going to have to be in this fight to take down white supremacy in this country once and for all.
Absolutely. And I think there's a couple of things that, Baji, this is part of what we do. Baji was actually started by African Americans, folks from the Caribbean and folks from the continent. And we're turned 20 this year, but for the first, 10 years at least of our existence, we were led by Gerald Noir, who is an African American from Louisiana, hundreds of years, multiple generation in this country. And the whole point of Baji is we say we fight for Black migrants and African Americans at the intersection of racial justice and immigrant rights. One piece that we know is about education, right? Right now, if I ask most people, Black people included, tell me about the history of Ghana, even if they're going to Ghana, they have no idea. Tell me about the history of Nigeria, they have no idea. That's not what people generally do when they go to other people's countries. And so that's something that has to happen here. And even as people, sometimes don't speak English and they're forced to figure out how to learn English and to take classes, none of these classes are coming with what does it mean to be Black in America. And one of the things that Baji had started was to go actually to home countries or to other countries and to say, and to have classes that say, so you want to come to America. And one part of that class is about the immigration process, but the other part of the class is about being Black in America. We had Baji say, you learn how to be Black in America from African Americans, from Black Americans. And so it's important to understand that history. And as you said, it's nuanced, right? And so it's important to also understand who you are teaching. What is their background? What is their understanding? Not just to say, oh, well, they don't know racism because they don't have, majority white populations or a big white population unless they're from certain countries. Everyone in the continent knows what racism is, whether they admit it or not, or whether they call it that or not. So how do we also make sure that we take into consideration the folks we're speaking with and come up with the language that we all can understand that makes clear what anti-Blackness is in this country and has us on the one. And then the last thing I'll say is that Stephen A. Smith, from what I know, is multi-generational. But Clarence Thomas, from what I know, is multi-generational Black American. And yet they are not on code in terms of what needs to be done for us to be free. And they have the background. So they're going to be some, in terms of the history, et cetera, they know the history. So there's going to be some people that for their own personal, selfish, whatever gain, are gonna go that way. We know that, right?
Well, hell, the last election, look how many Latinos voted for Trump, and individuals who crossed the border, who came illegally, who would now. Wait a minute. Not only that, I was gonna play this. Andrew, hold on. Listen, this is the son of Nikki Haley. Okay, this is Nikki Haley's parents came to this country through immigration laws that Black folks fought for. They couldn't get a job. Daddy got a job teaching at a HBCU. Mama was making clothes that Black women bought from her. But this is Nikki Haley's son about, who should be able to hold office in America? Guys, come on. I have an audio issue, so let me just let me see if I can I'm gonna reset this here because this is a perfect example of what we call self-hating among individuals. And let's see if we can see y'all here now.
And there's so many different aspects to immigration that it's not just the migration part of it.
Okay, guys, you were wrong. The audience.
So naturalized citizens should not be able to hold public office. Growing up here is a big part of understanding the country. We need to stop and limit the amount of foreign students that are coming into our universities. Some of them are spies, by the way, for foreign governments. But it's also just we should put our kids first. Yes. And we should also not allow dual citizenship because that's the stupidest idea. You're either American or you're not. And everyone wants to make it so complicated. That's the thing that I don't like about the past generation is they're always about the rules, the process, and regulation. No, it's really simple. You're just America first. People should have their loyalty to America first. And if they can't do that, then this ain't the country for you. That's totally right. What about serving in a foreign military? Oh, gosh, no, forget about it. You can't do that. Of course not, right? It's ridiculous. That idea alone is just insane. Yeah. Dual citizenship's already bad enough. But to serve in another country's military is disqualifying, really. Of course. I mean, it's hard to believe it's even a conversation. What about language? Do you worry that, you know, countries are united by their language, and language is inseparable from culture. Language is culture in a lot of ways, but this doesn't seem like an English-speaking country anymore. Yeah, especially when you go to places like Minneapolis, Miami, New York, which I lived there for a little bit. And yeah, I want to be able to understand everybody. I just do. It's my country. I don't think I should have to speak another language in my own country. I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think it's good for us. Not saying that you can't know another language. I think that's great to know another language. That's good. But to have anything other than English as the primary language in this country, not acceptable. You're not describing the priorities of the modern Republican Party at all here. No, but hopefully one day it will be. That's what I hope will happen. So my sense, but you would know, is that everything you just said for the past half an hour is like basically what most young men your age think who are conservative. Who are conservative? Absolutely. Yeah, yes. Who are conservative. So do they look at the Republican Party as representing them? No, not at all. And that's the struggle that we face. And that's where the anger comes from.
Event.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, his mom's name is Nikki Haley.
Right, but I was at a particular public event, and this nitwit was there. His mom was speaking, and he actually had some words for me, and I literally turned to him and said, "I don't talk to children." I said, "You're a child." Now, what's crazy is his grandparents were sitting right there too. They were all at the table. This is Nikki Haley's son. So this is a perfect example. This is the grandchild of immigrants who are shitting on immigrants, and his little ass, his narrow ass would not be in the United States if it wasn't for immigration. But what he's saying is, oh, no, keep all them people out, get rid of dual citizenship. And he literally is saying naturalized citizens should not be able to hold office. So what he's saying is his grandparents shouldn't hold office. You got some self-hating immigrant children and grandchildren right now in this country, which is crazy to me.
Well, you got some self-hating U.S.
No, I get that, but it's crazy if your ass came from somewhere else, and then you get here, and then you like, they can't come. No, they can't come. They can't come. Like, how you think your ass got here?
And so typical, because again, her name is not Nikki Haley.
Nimrata.
Her name is not Nikki.
It's Nimrata.
Right? And so all of that is a part of this conversation, this effort to so-called Americanize yourself, which really comes down to this effort to whiteify yourself, right? To get yourself as approximate to whiteness as possible, which of course some people are going to be able to achieve more easily than others. And It's something that this country tells people to do. It's something that this country pushes people to do. And this country then tells you how that can happen. Even this conversation about language. And so this is the kinds of things we talk about, for example, at Baji. When we're talking about language, the pushback against language, other than so-called English in this country, is not just rooted or found in the conversation about immigration. It's also found in the conversation about Ave, right? It's also found there. It's this idea that if you speak something other than this American English that the British consider to be some kind of bastardized English, right? But if you speak something other than that, that somehow you are lesser culturally, that you are not quite as human as someone and as a USian that is speaking English, and particularly a white one, right? And so I think this is the reason why it's so critical, back to the point that was made earlier by your panelists, that we have the conversations to make clear what is the anti-Blackness that underlies everything that is negative, restrictive, violent, constrictive about this country. So that at very minimum, I can't speak for other people, but in terms of Black immigrants, 20% of the population, whether they be foreign born or people like me that were born here, Black immigrant rooted people, we have to be on the same page and understanding about the anti-Blackness of this country, about how it's impacted Black Americans, African Americans, but also about how it impacts us, and vice versa. African Americans need to also be understanding of how the anti-Blackness of this country impacts our home countries, for not just with the travel ban, but the extraction, the wars, the coups. Like, what has this country done to Black countries around the world?
Mhm.
That is part of why people from Black countries are coming here. And then how are Black immigrants more detained, more deported, put in solitary confinement for longer periods of time, like disproportionately impacted in every way because we are Black people, whether we call ourselves or other people call us that or not, and therefore are going to be dealt with disproportionately. That needs to be recognized by our communities, and we become stronger as we recognize that.
Andrew?
Yeah, so as a first generation Jamaican American, this issue hits home, and seeing, Jamaica on this list would mean that I would not be here. And to say that my parents, who are both professionals, my family, who is a family full of professionals, are somehow prone to be on public assistance is just not my experience, even when I go back to my motherland of Jamaica. So what I want to know is, considering this rhetoric and even the video that Roland, you just put out there, is there a fear amongst immigrant Black communities here about whether or not they want to stay? And also, do you see resistance from Black people from either African countries or even Caribbean countries wanting to even fill out a visa form or even try to come to America?
Yeah, so on the latter, there's a lot of fear. So first of all, there's just a lot of fear. You have people who actually are eligible for citizenship that now are afraid to apply. We saw that there were people that were in line for their citizenship to get sworn in, meaning they had passed all the tests, jumped through all the hoops, everything was ready. They already got stuff in the mail. All they're doing now is going to swear in. And as soon as the first travel ban came in, they were pulled out of line. Literally, they just went down the line, each person asking them, where are you from? And if they indicated
Literally
they were from a country that was in the travel ban,
snatched them out of line and told them to go home.
Right. Snatch them out of line. So of course, when you hear that, when you see that, then you say, well, I don't want to have that happen to me. So then people are afraid. You have people with green cards that are being snatched and deported. You have people who are citizens who are being snatched and deported. People who are asylum seekers in the process. People who have gotten protections under the Convention Against Torture that are being deported. So that makes people say, I'm not so sure that I want to fill out these forms even inside this country. And of course, outside the country, you have people that have filled out the form permitted. You know what I'm saying? They've been told you can come. Your green card is going to be ready when you get here. You fulfilled everything you're supposed to fulfill. And now they're being told, no, you're not going to be able to come. And we don't know if you're ever going to be able to come. We don't know what's going to happen with your application. So people are certainly frightened. It also, I'm thinking about how they're doing all these cuts to public assistance, to SNAP benefits, to the Affordable Care Act, etc. And this is also a way to try to tighten the noose on people, right? And to make it so that they can have people that they're excluding from trying to get that side of support. But again, at the end of the day, and it's something that we know, we have to always tell our folks in terms of Black immigrants, at the end, even with African Americans, people who come here are not all, are not clear sometimes that the stereotype of the person on public assistance being Black is a stereotype that is rampant, and that there's nothing about your nationality that helps you to escape that stereotype. So we say that it's not about criminality. It's not about documentation. It's not even about nationality. That really what we're seeing here is an immigration policy, whether it's kicking us out, keeping us out, or locking us up, that is based upon race, and that is being used as the tip of the spear to expand the police state, including the surveillance state, that is going to capture us all, disproportionately Black folks, including Black people who are Black American and African American.
All right, I thought I was going to be done with this and go to headlines, but I got to play this. Nana, I got to get you and Mondale's reaction to this video. This is a state representative in North Carolina. Her name is Carla Cunningham. She's running for re-election. And the governor of North Carolina, a Democrat, has come out in support of her opponent. Other African Americans have as well, saying that she's voted with Republicans too much, and she voted with them on this immigration bill. This is a speech that she gave in the legislature in North Carolina. I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about this. Here we go.
I am ADOS, American descendants of slaves. I am a Black American, and I am an American. I'm going to present my case in support of House Bill 318, as it is time for my unapologetic truth to be shared with all of you. First, as a people, we need to recognize that it's not just the numbers that matter, but also where the immigrants come from and the culture they bring with them to another country. As a social scientists report, all cultures are not equal. Some immigrants come and believe they can function in isolation, refusing to adapt. They have come to our country for many reasons, but I suggest they must assimilate, adapt to the culture of the country they wish to live in. No country is going to allow people to come in and not acknowledge its constitution, legal systems, and laws. They will not tolerate it. So do you think I can go to another country and set up my own rules to live by, use the language I choose, and then tell that country that you must speak my language? That's not going to happen, nor should it. As a country, the United States has been more tolerant than most other countries. Other countries are making it much more difficult to get citizenship. We have been naive. We have been exploited and abused by the different tactics to gain citizenship in America. It's time to wake up. Global migration in the past was not projected to be as it is today. We must establish new rules to address a distinct type of migration that we are facing in our country, state, and cities. It's time to turn the conveyor belt off and adopt a global migration suitable for the times that we're in. And that is not destabilizing our communities. See, it was my ancestors who came over as slaves, built this country with a strain on their backs. They sweat pouring from their bodies in the rice fields, the cotton fields, and the tobacco farms for this country. Lived as servants and was the footstool, I said the footstool, for far too many feet to step on. So today, if you ask me to line up behind another group of people to raise awareness about their plight, I unapologetically say no.
Then Mondale. Donna, go ahead. Guys.
So there's so much there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're up. Go ahead.
So much there to unpack. And I think there's a couple, but I won't take all of it. I'll let Mondale do some of it. But here's a couple of things that I want to be clear about. I think number one, that there needs to be a recognition, again, of the pain that comes from the abandonment and the torture and the violence and all that this country has done and continues to do to folks who are African American. And I think that that must be not just acknowledged, but centered. And that is the position that we take as Baji, which is why we support reparations as if they were coming to us, even though they're not, right? We throw down because we understand that there are some things that are non-negotiable if we're going to have liberation as Black people. The second thing, though, is to think, when you think about assimilation and the way that the sister is talking about assimilation, she's clearly not talking about assimilation into Black culture. She's talking about assimilation into the United States, which is where this ridiculous model minority thing comes from, right? Because people are trying to assimilate into this notion of what the U.S. is saying you should do to be a good person under respectability politics, which definitely means that you shouldn't be acting like those Black people over there, right? And so we, if we want to honor Black culture in this country, need to not have an assimilationist view. We need to have a view that talks about centering the needs, the aspirations, the challenges that Black Americans face, because when Black Americans are free, we will all be free. And that acknowledges and allows, as part of that, this understanding that there is Black culture and different types of Black culture, some which is similar, some which is not. But there is Black culture, and that Black culture has a value, that we don't have to shed ourselves and become some kind of Black white people in order for us to be able to have a piece of the thriving that we should be able to have in this country. And then lastly, I'll say there's a conveyor belt, or this conversation of a conveyor belt that doesn't exist. It's very difficult to get to this country, particularly as a Black person coming from a Black country, even before the Trump administration. It is a really difficult process and not one that many can access. I think that's important to point out. And to say that many who are accessing it are because the United States, whether it's through war, extraction, political instability, as so many folks say, we are here because you are there, right? And so if the U.S. were not in all of these countries, and if we were able to keep our vibranium for ourselves, we wouldn't have to go to these other countries. We're chasing our people who were stolen from us, or we're chasing our people who had to leave. We're chasing our profits that are being now taken up and made and into profits for these countries, including the United States. And we're chasing our products as well that come out of the continent and come out of the Caribbean, but don't benefit those countries, but in fact benefit people in this country.
Mondale, you're North Carolina.
Listen, thank God I'm closer, Roland, to Washington, D.C. than I am to Charlotte, where this woman is elected in. Here's the problem of stupidity. First of all, she's in a district that is 22% immigrant. And this video will be circulated. So this is probably her last time being elected. She's been a conservative Democrat for quite a while. Her working with Republicans to overturn or to veto the governor's ICE, or rejection of ICE in our state is absolutely stupid, and it also goes against the will of the people that she supposedly is elected to represent. We saw, the world saw what happened to ICE when they came to Charlotte. They literally got ran out of town. Literally, they were being ran into the woods. So for her to stand up and say she's representing her people, she's doing the exact opposite, actually. She's representing 38% of white people in that district that are Republican or that supported Trump. The tragedy I get from ADOS and the people who swear that they are American descendants of slavery and people that care about the blackness of our people is that they end up using weapons and tools that were created by white people for our harm. She sounds to me like a white supremacist. Her ideology is the ideology that supports making America as white as possible. She is the linchpin that Donald Trump and his cronies need to pass out this policy, and also to have people speaking in a term that it's not the banning of immigrants is not for the benefit of black people. It is to whiten America so that white people maintain a majority that is their power. And she will not benefit. Her people, the footstools that she called us, have not and did not benefit from this. This idea of you need to stop destabilizing our communities is crazy to me. If she believed that the immigrants in Charlotte are destabilizing black communities, then I would ask her which immigrants are running the institutions that are over policing black communities. Which immigrants are running the institutions that refuse to provide adequate housing to black people on Beatty's Ford? So she's doing a disservice to the 106th district in North Carolina, and I damn sure she just made me super interested in her district, and I will be trying to activate black men to vote against her ass as soon as I get back to the state.
All right, folks. Nana, we appreciate. Yeah. Go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead.
Roland, can I also respond to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said earlier, like how nuanced of a conversation this is. Like by definition, am I ADOS? Yes. By definition, am I foundational Black American? Absolutely. But being on code, you would never catch me demonstrating anti-Blackness and speaking out against my Black cousins in Africa, from Africa, or my Black cousins from the Caribbean or currently living in the Caribbean. That's not what I'm going to do. I would never cut a deal with white supremacists in a way that negatively impacts those who are of the African diaspora. And that's something that we have to talk about. It's okay for Black Americans to say, hey, I'm proud to be Black American. I'm proud to have my culture. I'm proud of the different, not just the trauma that I've experienced, but the positive things that I've experienced, have done to impact culture globally around this world. There is no popular culture in this world that's not positively impacted by Black American culture. But that said, what to Mondale's point, you can never be a tool of the oppressor, a tool of the master, because when the master no longer has use of you, they break you as the tool that you are. And so in this conversation, it's extremely nuanced. We have to understand the dissimilarities. We also have to understand the similarities. But in this current hostile political climate, we got to be on code together.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth. Like, I think delineating is not a bad thing if we're doing it to lift up who we are and to say what we are. The way I've seen people weaponize ADOS against other marginalized people has made me think that people that are using that label, those that are in the structure arm, they've weaponized. And I'm not talking about Dr. Darity from Duke, who has articulated a pathway and how we should be paid our reparations. I understand that, and I recognize that as someone who has traced his lineage all the way back to where slavery and before. But I'm also a vibrant person who understands that America owes more than just those of us who suffered through slavery and because of slavery, and we should not allow our ADOS delineation to put us ever against, like you said, Rebecca, ever against our cousins from other parts of this world that are all victims of white supremacy.
All right, Nana, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much. We'll be watching this story to see how it plays out. Thanks a lot. Folks, going to a quick break. When we come back, Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
You have people get up in the morning, and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
This is Bill Duke, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Folks, time for Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
Roland, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy restores the eligibility to serve on juries for some people with prior criminal convictions. Some 350,000 people had been blocked due to convictions. Governor Murphy signed the executive order with the help of Damian Stackhouse, a formerly incarcerated man who spent years trying to convince lawmakers to take this very step. The order is now in effect and marks a significant shift for New Jersey. The state has been unusually harsh in its exclusions from jury pools. The state imposed a lifetime ban on jury service for anyone convicted of a crime. Also, a person has been arrested after a fire damaged a historic synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi. Police have not released the suspect's name or their motive due to the ongoing investigation. The person is facing arson and possible hate crime charges. The fire ripped through the Beth Israel congregation early Saturday morning. It was closed at the time, and there are no reported injuries. The Jackson Fire Department says the suspect did have burns that are non-life-threatening. Pictures show the charred remains of an administrative office and a synagogue library where several Torahs were destroyed or damaged. The synagogue is the largest and only temple in Jackson, Mississippi. In California, a former employee at the In-N-Out is suing the fast food chain. Elijah Obeng is seeking legal action, claiming wrongful termination. The 21-year-old says that management mistreated him over his hair and pressured him to cut his locks off just to fit work policies. In-N-Out requires employees to wear a hat and keep their hair tucked underneath. Though he says he complied by braiding his locks to fit under his hat, management told him it did not meet work standards. He is now seeking $3.2 million in damages for workplace discrimination and wrongful termination. Also, more than 600 women, most of them Black, are holding a Virginia hospital accountable. They claim a former doctor at Chesapeake Regional Medical Center performed gynecological malpractice. Dr. Javid Perwais is currently serving 59 years in federal prison after he was found guilty in 2021 for healthcare fraud. Many of them are saying the hospital ignored red flags about the former doctor, who repeatedly lied to patients for nearly 2 decades, leading them to receive unnecessary and sometimes irreversible surgeries. Victims claim that the doctor fabricated cancer results, induced pregnancies, and performed hysterectomies, permanently sterilizing the women, and now they're seeking $6 billion. The White House is continuing its efforts to erase African American history. In this latest attempt, Trump has ordered the Smithsonian Museum to turn over all materials. He wants to review the institution's exhibits, programs, and internal governance to ensure that the museum's operations aligned with Trump's view of American history. The move was communicated to Smithsonian staffers in an email by Smithsonian Secretary Lonnie Bunch III, who says the Institute will continue to turn over additional records to the White House on a rolling basis. This stems from a letter Trump sent in December requesting materials that he says remains outstanding, setting a deadline for Bunch to turn over all records earlier this week. It's still unclear which materials Trump is requesting to review. Well, college professors are sounding the alarm, saying many Gen Z college students are unprepared for college. Data shows nearly half of all Americans did not read a single book in 2025. Gen Z is the age range 13 through 28, born from 1998 to 2012. In recent studies, it reveals a troubling statistic among the group. Reading habits are plummeting, at least by 40% over the last decade. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, a sector in the U.S. Department of Education, 84% of Black students lack proficiency in mathematics, and 85% of Black students lack reading skills. Well, the Senate took a moment to honor gospel great Richard Smallwood. Senators Reverend Warnock and Tim Scott introduced a bipartisan resolution honoring the life and legacy of Smallwood. After the recognition, Howard University and Metropolitan Baptist Church sang the gospel classic song Total Praise. Smallwood passed away on December 30th, 2025 at the age of 77 following complications from kidney failure. Smallwood's funeral will be on Saturday, January 24th at the First Baptist Church of Glenarden International in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. We'll be streaming it live right here on the Black Star Network. Roland, back to you.
Ford worker, y'all, in Dearborn, Michigan, he got suspended after he heckled the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump during Tuesday's tour. He apparently gave the auto worker, identified as T.J. Sabler, the middle finger and told him F you. Y'all play the video. Well, Sabler yelled pedophile protector as an acknowledgement to Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein in the ways the administration is stalling with the release of files tied to the late convicted sex offender. Well, the orange man told Sabler, "You're fired," right before flipping him the bird. In a statement to Sky News, the White House spokesman Stephen Chung, nutcase, said, quote, "A lunatic was wildly screaming expletives in a complete fit of rage, and the president gave an appropriate and unambiguous response." Well, that's interesting because, you know, again, imagine if Obama or Biden did that. Oh, these people be losing their damn mind. Sabler has been put on suspension, and he said, "I don't regret doing it at all." And they've so the UAW folks also released a statement saying that they will be investigating that standing by him as well. And guess what? Folks are responding. There's been a GoFundMe set up for Sabler, and let's just say it's going well. Look at this here, y'all. $480,000 has been raised already in support of him, and he just said point blank, "I ain't backing down at all." Andrew, what do you think?
So this actually happened to Obama previously, and the person who did this to Obama was not fired. And it's funny because the CEO of Ford is actually one of the biggest CEO critics of Ford because of his tariff policies. So to see this person on suspension, I mean, I almost felt bad for him until I saw that GoFundMe page at almost $480,000. So I might have to go down to a Ford plant myself and heckle Donald Trump.
This is a UAW statement, Rebecca. The auto worker of the Dearborn truck plant is a proud member of a strong and fighting union, the UAW. He believes in freedom of speech, a principle we wholeheartedly embrace, and we stand with our membership in protecting their voice on the job. The UAW will ensure that our member receives full protection of all negotiated contract language, safeguarding his job and his rights as a union member. Workers should never be subjected to vulgar language or behavior by anyone, including the President of the United States.
You know what? I'm glad to see that the union is standing behind their employee, or sorry, by their worker. I will say this: I want to see UAW get involved in the elections this year. UAW, please pass around some of that money and making sure that you're supporting folks who support democracy in this in this country, because quite frankly, we need it.
Mondale.
Yeah, listen. I listen. I am amazed at how Republicans swear they love the First Amendment until they don't. Right? Like they hate cancel culture until they don't. Until they have power, then they want to cancel everybody that says anything against Donald Trump. They're so stupid with power and punch drunk over Trump that they literally put out a statement saying that some idiot was yelling expletives. The only idiot yelling expletives was the president. Period. Calling someone who they are and what your friends are. You if you don't want to be considered a pedophile perfecter, don't get upset by releasing documents saying that my friends will be exposed, or don't hang out with people like Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm super excited that this person is gonna receive whatever portion of the $480,000 or whatever the $800,000 the goal. But here's the thing, Roland. I think, when do people in this country stop pretending that Donald Trump, any people, pretend that Donald Trump is good for America, what it means to be American, and this idea of exceptionalism? Because you have a president who can't complete a thought without talking about Bigley or how great he is, or look at his ballroom, or something big. So I'm super confused at how this idiot Donald Trump continues to walk around and no one calls him. Every time you say his name, I hear you do it, but I don't hear it on mainstream media. People don't call him Donald the Con, or they don't bring up the fact that he's making money off of the presidency in a way that we've never seen before. So I'm super excited that this worker had the gall to do it, and I hope more people do it. Every time he's in public, they need to break that circle that he's surrounding himself with in the White House that don't tell him the truth, and let him see that the world hates you.
All right, folks. The creator of Dilbert, comic strip Scott Adams, he's dead. He died of prostate cancer. Now, you might remember that he, of course, was diagnosed. He refused to accept normal treatment. He chose to then take ivermectin. That didn't work. And so then he started complaining to Trump on Twitter, hey, can you get me into some trials when it comes to this? That didn't work. He was a longtime non-believer, atheist, didn't believe in Jesus Christ. But right before he died, he's like, oh, I'm giving my life to Jesus Christ. I wonder why he decided so late. Oh, by the way, he also was a massive racist. Don't y'all have the video? You got the video there of Scott Adams? And so you don't have the video? Okay. All right. Okay, let me pull it up. So Scott Adams, he was, this is the one who made some racist comments, and people on the right were like, oh, he was a righteous individual. Yeah, but he was also a racist. So it's no shock he was a full-fledged MAGA. Listen.
And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away, because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed, right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population, because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density, and this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm going to back off from being helpful to black America, because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like, I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally.
Well, if you're racist, Rebecca, you're going to get called a racist.
Now, Roland, I've been taught God don't like ugly. You ain't supposed to speak ill of the dead. So what did you have for lunch today? I made a Korean beef stew, and it was really good. How about you? What did you eat for lunch?
Mondale.
They would try to teach me that bullshit, but I think the dead, if you're evil when you're alive, you get it. Listen, he tried to give his life to a Jesus that happens to be dark skinned. That blonde guy in blue eyes ain't Jesus. So your hate or your so-called hate, let me tell you how evil this guy is. He literally almost told the truth on his lie while he was trying to tell his lie. He said, quote, according to Don Lemon, density, and then he called himself thought to tell the truth about if you are in a place that is higher density, there's higher crime. And he had to change that lie and make it about black people. I don't have any remorse for people that lie like this. And God don't either. That's why his ass ain't with us no more. How does the dirt taste? That's my statement, bro.
Andrew?
Wow. Well, all I have to say to that is shout out to Prince George's County. Shout out to Woodmore. Shout out to Washington, D.C. Shout out to any of the Baldwin Hills in California. That statement is just so far-fetched, and the density of neighborhoods with black people have a higher correlation of issues without even taking into account the funding for some of these neighborhoods is completely ridiculous, and may he rest wherever he sits.
So just so y'all know how media framed all of this, I went to Google and look at this here. Scott Adams, this is LA Times, Dilbert cartoonist and author who pushed on through cancellation, dies at 68. He was canceled because of his racism. NPR, Scott Adams, the controversial cartoonist behind Dilbert, dies at 68. Deadline, Scott Adams dies. Controversial Dilbert cartoonist was 68. The Washington Post, Scott Adams, Dilbert creator who poked fun at bad bosses, dies at 68. Politico, Scott Adams, whose comic strip Dilbert ridiculed white-collar office life, dies at 68. Variety, Scott Adams, Dilbert creator, dies at 68. The New York Times, Scott Adams, creator of the satirical Dilbert comic strip, dies at 68. CBS News, Scott Adams, Dilbert comic strip creator, dies at 68 after battle with prostate cancer. That's how they frame it. So let's see, the New York Times, let's just see. Let's see. Oh, the subhead, His Chronicles of a Corporate Cubicle Dweller, was widely distributed until racist comments on his podcast led newspapers to cut their ties with him. But, none of them wanted to put racist in the headline because that's just sort of how these things go. So that is not a shock to me at all. So, but again, this is what we have to deal with all the time in this country. You know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. So yes, the racist comic strip creator Dilbert Scott Adams dead at 68. Yeah. Okay. Good riddance. All right, folks. That's it for us. Listen up tomorrow. First of all, let me thank Andrew. Let me thank Mondale. Let me thank Rebecca for being on today's show. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that. Folks, tomorrow, if you're in Columbus, Ohio, I'm going to see you there. Tomorrow's the 45th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Awards Dinner. So the social hour is at 6, dinner's at 7. Columbus Convention Center, I am going to be giving the keynote speech. So y'all see me right there. I'm trying to decide, do I want to actually shave the beard? Because if I do, I'm going to lose this bet. So I see, I see Mondale got his. I don't know if I could sit here. And there's no way, I'm just telling y'all right now, there's no way in hell I'm going to grow my beard that long. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. Let me see what Andrew got. Let me see what he's doing. His beard is a little unruly too. I can't do that. This is not gonna happen. So I think Rebecca ain't got a beard. So I'm gonna go. So Monday it will be 4 weeks since I last trimmed my beard. I don't think I'm gonna get to Tuesday. Okay, I didn't think I was gonna get to today because this is how I normally rock my beard. Right there. That's me. I can't. So this has been a struggle not to shave this sucker off since I got back. But anyway, Columbus, Ohio, I'm going to see y'all tomorrow there. I cannot wait. I'll do Roland Martin Unfiltered from 6 to 7. And then we are going to have the second half of the show, or probably one of our book interviews, haven't decided. Then I'll be in Dallas on Friday. On Saturday, I give the MLK speech for Dallas, so I'll be there. We'll be live streaming both speeches on the Black Star Network. Well, I'll have my camera equipment there as well, so looking forward to that. I was supposed to be at a church conference in Atlanta on Friday, but that conference has been postponed, so I'll give you more details on that. So I look forward to being in Columbus tomorrow. So y'all, let's pack it out. I've spoken to this dinner before, and so I look forward to being back there. And you know what's crazy? I have actually spoken. This probably will blow y'all away. If you just let's say take out in Atlanta, and you can throw in Dallas and Houston. This is going to trip y'all out. I think I've probably spoken more in Columbus, Ohio, in the last 20 years than any other city in the country. I have been booked, y'all, straight up. I think one year I got booked like 2 or 3 times in Columbus in 1 year. And so I've done this dinner before, and I think I've done this dinner twice before. So I look forward to being back. So I truly enjoy the folks in Columbus, so I'm looking forward to being there. Congresswoman Joyce Beatty hit me, says she's flying back for the dinner, so maybe she'll pop by our show tomorrow when we're live. So I'll be live there as well. So looking forward to it. So again, thank to our panel. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And tomorrow is the actual birth date of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so our MLK coverage will begin on tomorrow. We've got, of course, lots of content, lots of things to share with you, and lots of different stories. So I look forward to that. All right, folks, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 people on average contributing $50 a year. Now, let me explain, y'all. It's $195,000 a month to pay for everything. So let me just stand up. So just understand, it's a lot that we've been doing, y'all, a whole lot that we've been doing. And so we have, you may not be able to see it, but we've added to improve. Kill the music, please. Kill the music. Kill the music. So we've done a lot of different stuff here. And so we've added these sound panels on the ceiling here all around to improve the sound so it's not as hollow. As you see, I'm going to go over here. Of course, when you go over here, you see how we actually, don't switch that camera, just go switch the camera right here. So you see right here how we've moved all of our products over here for our shop, blackstarnetwork.com. And so therefore you see we've got new robotic cameras in here as well. And so now that gives us opportunity. So I'm standing over here where our green screen is. And so that's where you see this right here. And so this gives us the ability to be able to utilize the technology to give you different looks with our green screen here as well. And so is this camera here on? This camera here, turn this camera this way. So you'll see right here. So you see that we have this wall over here, which is I call this our music wall. So we've got Jimi Hendrix, Miles Davis, and Prince, and so we've lit this to be able to do some stuff in front of this wall right here, and so that's one of the things that we've done. We've made a lot of changes in terms of video, audio improvements as well. And so we've, again, moved some different cameras around in here. When I stand over here, one of the things that we've done, we did about $150,000 lighting refresh as well. So the switching up our lighting here, changing different lights as well. And so you see all of that that's been happening here. You need to go to the wide camera. So pull it out, pull it out, pull it out. All right, thank you. That's the shot right there. So we've done a lot of different lighting stuff in here as well. We've added more lights back over here as well. So before, we didn't have these lights sort of bouncing off the wall here. So we've done that. We've changed the lighting configuration that's over here as well. So that's one of the things that we have done. And so we've done that. And then, of course, in our control room, we made a lot of different changes as well to our audio system, our video system. We've made more purchases in terms of our equipment. We are expanding what we do with our vMix audio system. That's going to also allow for us to be able to do our remote shows, and so those are the things we're working on as well. So it's a whole lot of stuff that has been happening over the past month, and so your donations have been played a huge role us being able to do that. If you go to our equipment room, it's a whole lot of stuff that we've done. We've gotten a second remote production system. So that way, because we anticipate, with this being 2026, an election year, that we're going to be in a situation where I might be broadcasting somewhere. I might have another crew. So let's say I might be in Georgia. We might have another whole setup in North Carolina, or I might be in Texas, and somebody else might be in Ohio. So we got that going on. So for instance, in February, the Robomobile hits the road. We're going to be in North Carolina with Bishop William Barber. Do y'all have the graphic? Let's be sure to keep that graphic steady so we keep promoting that. And so we're going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, covering their 3-day march, culminating in their mass movement protest on February 14th. And we're going to be live streaming that march every single day, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so we have all different things that we've been doing for that as well. So it's a lot of things that we've been doing here at the Black Star Network. As I said, we're launching a daily news show, a noon news show hosted by Brittany Noble. That's going to be January 26th. We're launching a weekly health show called Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Hilton. That's launching at the end of the month as well. We're still working on the business show. And you also notice we've been running the weekly show from Isaac Hayes III and Fan Base on investing. So we've been running that show as well. So in addition to the other weekly shows that we have. So it's been a lot of stuff that we've been doing. Methodically building the Black Star Network, providing more content. So all those things have been happening as we speak. And so when we talk about your support, that's what it's about. We have been, I just saw that we've crossed 1.9 million subscribers on YouTube. So we are 100,000 away from 2 million. When we launched September 4th, 2018, we had 157,000 YouTube subscribers. And so we had that growth there as well. And so your support is critical, and we typically see, just so everybody understand, we typically see a dramatic drop-off in January, February, and March on YouTube following the fourth quarter of the previous year, October, November, and December. And so when you give, you really are helping us get through. And so when I say that, hey, we're trying to raise $1 million a year from our fan base, and that comes out to about $80,000 a month. That is really huge because the drop off from YouTube could be anywhere from 30 to 50%. And so we've hired new staff. We've got Brittany and her producer, Courtney, who's in Indianapolis. We've got new staff here. Because of all, we've got different freelancers coming in because of all these different things that we're doing here. Again, as we're rebuilding our vMix system, adding greater capability with green screen, things along those lines. So, Trump is going to be giving his State of the Union address. We're going to be doing the State of our Union. Remember, last year we were number 5 on all of YouTube. We had 250,000 people who are watching live. I want to break that record this year. I want us to hit more than 300,000. And so we're contemplating how we're going to do that. We might have a studio audience. We're figuring out, hey, who's going to be speaking again? It could be Bishop Barber. Have not decided that. And so we really are just trying to methodically build and grow this to be able to provide more news and information. I've said it. Listen, it's a lot of people out there covering sports, entertainment, gossip, comedy, all that stuff. If you want to go for that, go somewhere for that, you can go right ahead. But we've got to have real news and information that's speaking to our interests. And so that's what we're doing here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So if you want to support what we are doing, please do so. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see the QR code right here. If you want, click the Cash App pay button to contribute. Checks in money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's how the bank account is set up. So please make it not Black Star Network, not Roland Martin, not Uncle Roro, Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We also switch providers of our app. That's critically important. I just want to tell y'all straight up, our app is costing us $150,000. And so why are we doing that? We've got we're approaching 200,000 downloads. That's important because if YouTube, if Facebook, if any of these platforms say, hey, we're not going to sit here and run your content, we have a place where we can still run our content where we own and control it. And so that's critically important. So download the app. And if you download the app before, you have to put in a new password. And so please, any issues with that, send us an email at info@RolandSMartin.com, info@RolandSMartin.com. Download it on Apple phone, Android phone, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Samsung Smart TV. We had a couple other providers. We were doing nothing on them, so we simply dropped those apps because they serve no purpose for us. You want to get our swag, Roland Martin Unfiltered shirt and hat and crew cut and hoodies and all that good stuff, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You name it, we got all of the stuff right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. Again, if you want to get all of our stuff, shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, these are all black-owned products. All these black-owned products you see right here, Terrell, that signal meant zoom out. That's what the signal meant. He's trying to figure it out, but then again, he is a Sigma. So here we go. So again, all these products right here, y'all, which are available on shopblackstarnetwork.com. You'll see we got harmonic chips right here. We've got facial products right here. We've got men's skin line. We've got candles. We've got candles that smell like food. We've got these great dolls right here. We've got all sorts of stuff, these sauces and relishes, and we've got Christmas ornaments, backpacks, crossword puzzles. We've got steam dolls. We got this whole car wash solution kit right here as well. Plus, again, the multifaceted candles. We've got the Be Rooted playing cards. It's a lot of things we got. These are all black-owned companies that are on the website. And so, listen, when you go to shopblackstarnetwork.com and buy products, gifts, stuff you can use every day, like, for instance, listen, y'all know, I don't care who you are, your ass using toilet paper every day. So this here is a black-owned company, Leafy. And so you have these products right here. Bamboo, absolutely fantastic. Better for the environment as well. And so you got that. They've got also tissue as well. So when you buy these products on shopblackstarnetwork.com, you also are supporting us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Y'all don't worry about it. Yes, we'll fix it with getting rid of this raggedy ass looking cloth here, so it's going to look much better set up. But the point is, when you sit here and buy these products, you're supporting these black-owned companies, plus you are supporting the show as well because we get a cut of the proceeds. And so this is how we also help black businesses to help this black business so we can be able to build and do more things, provide more content for you. Don't forget, about $100,000 left to raise for the for fan base. You want to, first of all, download the app. Made a lot of changes, and so they really improved the functionality of the app. So download fan base. They got about 1.5 million followers. We want to get that up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 million. But also, if you want to invest, please do so by going to startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase. All right. That's it for us, folks. I will see y'all tomorrow live from Columbus, Ohio, and I look forward to being there. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow.